Welcome to the Mega Team Mastermind Podcast, the ultimate resource for real estate team leaders who want to take back their time, scale their profit, and love their business again. I'm your host, John Tiller. For almost 25 years, I've been building real estate teams with a focus on making an impact and leaving a legacy. And I want to help you to do the same. In each episode, we have dynamic conversations with industry powerhouses, mega team leaders, coaches, and other thought leaders who are shaping the future of real estate teams. You'll discover the secrets to effective leadership and team building so that you can leverage your business to make an impact and to leave a legacy, all without sacrificing your family. This podcast is brought to you by megateammentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's megateammentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. Now, let's get started on the journey of growth, impact, and legacy building with today's episode. Welcome back to the Mega Team Mastermind Podcast, where we interview successful real estate mega team leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure, building profitable real estate teams that make an impact and leave a legacy. I'm your host, John Tiller, and today we have Josh Hintzen and Morgan Hodges, co-owners of the Mojo Team in Scottsdale, Arizona. Hey, Josh and Morgan, so good to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks, John. It's good to be on.
Thanks, John. Look forward to today.
Hey, so tell us a little bit about your backstory. You guys have got a really interesting co-owner business relationship that has succeeded. We have so many people in real estate that say, hey, there's somebody who I'd like to start a team with, and then it doesn't go as well as they thought it would. But you guys have been together for some time as partners, as business partners, and have grown this business to something to be proud of. So give us a little bit of the backstory there and tell us about where you are and where you're going.
Yeah, I would say I'll just jump in. You know what? So really interesting. Josh and I met in real estate school and really kind of developed a friendship before we ever got into business together. And we're very early on and didn't necessarily start out to build a team or anything along those lines. Josh was in commercial for about a year, and then the residential market 20 years ago was really taking off. And in some ways I said, hey, you should really switch over to residential. So we started working together, and that was successful, obviously slugging through some hard times, hard market. But yeah, I think the thing is if you're going to get into business with someone, you want to find the right person, someone with the right temperament, someone that you can sort through because there's going to be a lot of things that come up. There's going to be, when you start bringing on employees and feelings there and team members, there's always different things. And so you want to find someone, of course, that's level-headed, that can help you sort out and find different answers to solutions or problems. A lot of that is really key. So you need a good back and forth, and you need to be able to trust one another. And that's one thing that I think Josh and I have is like, if I'm away and he makes a decision, it's almost always the decision I would have made.
Yeah, Morgan's the level-headed one out of the two of us.
You need one of those at least.
Yeah, and I would say one other thing to add on there, which was pretty awesome. And once again, we got in, we didn't know what we were doing. We just thought we were probably really ignorant and really cocky at the time and thought that we could do it ourselves. And so we figured, hey, let's go and add it together. We'll figure this whole real estate thing out. And we had a lot of successes along the way. But that being said, had we joined a top team at that time, right when we got in, we would probably be light years ahead of where we are even now in our businesses, just because we would have learned so much from that team leader and that team that took us probably 10 years to learn. And we're still learning to this day.
So you guys met in real estate school 20 years ago. Have you been business partners with the team for all of that time? Or tell us a little bit about the story over that 20 years.
So we met in real estate school. I went into commercial my first year. Morgan went into residential. That's when the real estate boom started taking off. This was in 2005. So I quickly pivoted, switched out of commercial, went into residential. We partnered up at that point in time, but we really didn't start the team until about roughly 10 years ago or so. we, just were partners. We brought on an assistant, and later on, probably 5 years later, after we partnered up, we brought on our first assistant, which was amazing because our business doubled basically like overnight as soon as we brought on that very first assistant, which there's some growing pains there because it's really hard. When you know everything, you know how to run everything, it's really hard to delegate and give things away. At the same time, you know how important it is to get that time back and what you can use with that time, and what you can do with that time. But that's kind of the story. Yeah, we did not start the team. In fact, like Morgan mentioned, we had no intentions necessarily of even starting a team until our business grew to a point to where we were almost forced to start a team because we had so many leads coming in that we just couldn't possibly work all the leads ourselves. And so we brought on our first team member to start taking on a lot of that extra business that we just couldn't handle at the time.
Go ahead. Yeah, go Morgan.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, like Josh said, we brought on that assistant. We got busy, and even that was something we went back and forth on and kind of maybe put off. But, the advice from other people and obviously other mentors we were looking up to bit the bullet and just really took off the business very quickly. It allowed us within a couple of months to free up that headspace and then really just charge. And that was one light bulb kind of moment where we said, look, if we can benefit from this, other people can benefit from this. It also gave us a chance to sort out and start to build in some of those systems and processes, which then allowed us to get more lead flow. And then at the same time, like Josh said, it was almost out of necessity. But we knew if we got one and we kind of started working out the kinks, it would be better. We brought on the first team member. I think it was almost a year before we brought on a second.
Yeah, the first next team member is always the hardest. And then the second next team member gets a little bit easier and then easier from there. So there's so many good things that you talked about there. I also talked to a lot of productive agents, people who they're successful in their own right as individual agents and are not sure when to start a team. And you just gave one of the factors that I've seen in every successful team, or at least every time I've seen it done the way that you've done it. I've seen success in that team. And that is, we reached a point where we were hitting a leadership lid or a lid of production that we just couldn't, we were producing more leads than we could handle. And that was the time that we knew to do that. What a great story and what a great part of your story. Tell me a little bit about, as you two work together in your current roles, tell me a little bit about what's the same and what's different. What's your lane, Josh, and what's your lane, Morgan? And where is it okay to cross over? And where do you stay out of each other's lanes?
I would say we're pretty darn simple. We're actually, a lot of times we're running alongside each other the entire time. So we're both still in production. We're both still, working heavily, working with buyers and sellers and whatnot, because we do specialize in that luxury market. And so it's kind of hard to walk away from a multi-million-dollar client and, just delegate that to somebody else. Especially, there's not a lot of agents out there that specialize in the luxury market. So you just don't want to give that to somebody that's not specialized in that. Obviously, we're always working on mentoring and coaching our teammates up and getting them to the point to where they can start selling luxury, which a number of our team members actually do now. But Morgan and I, we meet, formally at least once a week, and we're always going over, hey, what's the plan for this week? What's the plan for the month? What goals are we trying to achieve? What marketing pieces do we have to address and look at and iron out? But a lot of times, we're popping into each other's offices and kind of meeting unplanned throughout the week.
Yeah, I would say in a lot of ways, for better or worse, it's a great relationship and it works well, but we literally almost take on a lot of the exact same roles. But the team is good sized. So we both have one-on-ones and communicate with agents. We're both solving problems. We're both, like I said, both still in production, but we meet together with our admin staff and same thing. So we're handling a lot of that. There are some things some small items, little marketing things, but we don't operate in such a way where it's like you take that entire bucket and I take this entire bucket. We're both sloshing around in each other's buckets or the same bucket all the time, with the overall goal of pushing the team forward, ensuring that our people are being as successful and productive as possible. And so it's with that combined effort, combined goal that we both push forward together. So again, going back to like that partnership, you need someone that is in it to win it with you. You can trust whether you're seeing their face in 3-4 days or not, that remains the same. And they're still pushing forward towards those same goals.
The nice thing too, John, is that just as a really small example, but when either one of us goes on vacation, it's really easy for us to handle all the duties of that other person while they're gone, because there's so much overlapping business with our own real estate business or our team that it's really easy to quickly just jump in and take on a few extra things while the other is gone.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, which is kind of the dream world of co-team leading, right? That you'd be able to do that and not miss a beat. Now, when it comes to coaching agents, do you have anybody do you have a leadership team at all that helps you guys coach the agents? And when you coach them, is it, hey, Morgan, you've got these particular agents that you lean toward, and Josh, you've got these others, and you're both available to all of them, but you've got certain ones you coach? Or how do you divide and conquer, or do you? Is it really just, hey, throw whoever's available today, that's who they're going to get?
So we have a couple of different systems. I would say in the past, we did have a success manager that was there. Things went on, and Josh and I dug in deeper and really helped take over that role. And then our director of operations, she really does a lot of like the day-to-day within our lead generation system. So we have a lead generation system that the agents work in, and she's handling that aspect of, making notes, checking that, and having those little 15-minute check-in calls. Josh and I both will have some one-on-ones or talking with agents. And so the way we kind of split it up is it almost goes every other, so you can get that different voice or different perspective. Like I said, we approach a lot of things very similar. And so I don't think it wavers that much from one to the next. But if I was maybe handling something last month, maybe this month, he would step up. So it kind of works back and forth there a little bit.
Got it.
And the nice thing is that we have our transaction coordinator, and like Morgan mentioned, we have our director of ops. And so if there's anything transactional or a situation that's more of a minor issue, they'll handle all of those things, kind of everything behind the scenes. Anytime where it's maybe a strategy session on, hey, I've got a listing coming up, I'd like to have some help comping it out, or, here are my goals for the year. Can you help put a plan together in place? Or I've got a deal that's about to fall apart. How would I save it? What would you guys do? So we're part of a lot of the high level conversations and strategizing and goal planning for our team. But anything below that, Dana and Christina, they take on for us.
Just to jump in with a quick nugget, one thing that's been very powerful for us that I would suggest every team look into, I think this was Josh's idea years ago, was we're all on GroupMe using GroupMe threads. And so we have a general team thread. Every agent then has their own individual thread that has myself, Josh, our transaction coordinator, and our director of operations. And so anything that comes up individual from them, we all see it. We all know that someone is handling their needs, getting back to them quickly. And we know among ourselves, depending on what is asked or what question, who kind of jumps in there. And so we coach up our agents to use that GroupMe thread first. And then even if they want to call, hey, can someone call me on this? And based on what they're asking, that's who's going to jump out and lead it. So it's a really good way to keep organized and to avoid, tons of calls going to just one individual. You are able to round robin that among the team leaders easier.
That makes a lot of sense. GroupMe, for those who don't know, is a group text function, right? Kind of like a Slack channel, but directly on text.
Correct.
Yeah. And so that's phenomenal. I think that will help people a lot. So I have a question for Josh, one for you, and Morgan for you. Josh, what is Morgan's superpower in business? And Morgan, what is Josh's superpower in business?
Morgan's superpower, I would say Morgan's very analytical and, very good at diving into the details, where I might not get into the details as much on certain things. I think being very analytical in that aspect of kind of knowing all the different options and really digging into it, I think he does an incredible job of sorting all of that out for us.
It's second nature. And I would say, honestly, Josh is an amazing, and not to put it, but politician in a sense, like very, very good with individuals, understanding kind of where they're at, where they're coming from, and just relating with people a lot of times and like seeing that more human emotional side and just getting that and sensing when someone is, maybe on or off a little bit or where their head's at. And that's really awesome to see. And I think is always really helpful too in any type of leadership relationship. So
love it. It is the difference in the balance and the way you complement each other. Definitely looks like you guys have. That's how the match started, right?
And what completes me.
He completes you. That's right. My last business partner, we always had to be really clear when we introduced ourselves because we worked really well together and we introduced ourselves as partners. We're business partners. But anyway, so conflict. I'm going to ask you a question about conflict. How do you resolve conflict? Because it's been 5 years running the team, to 5 or 10 years running the team, and 20 years knowing each other at some level as business partners. There's got to be a time where you didn't agree on something, and there was, and I have to imagine that it actually comes up more often, that there's conflict. So how do you resolve conflict between each other in a healthy way?
I would say that we don't have conflict come up as much as maybe you would think. A lot of times, if it's going to come up, it's usually going to be in relation to maybe what marketing ideas we have right now or where we want to put money. I'm the type of guy who's like, let's just throw money at everything and we'll see what happens. Like we'll see what sticks, what works. Where Morgan might be more budget conscious and saying, hey, let's really, once again, dive into the details and figure out what's the best solution, not just let's try everything. But I think that if there is a situation that comes up, a lot of times just maybe time, hey, let's not make this decision right now. Let's think about it. Let's take a week or 2 or 3 to really kind of figure out all the details and think about it. And there's been times where after a couple of weeks, maybe an idea that I had, I'm just maybe not that interested in doing anymore or pursuing. And then there's times where there's been ideas where at the end of 3 weeks, Morgan's like, yeah, I think it's awesome. Let's do it, sort of thing. So Morgan, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a great answer. The reality is with the market and with the team and everything else, we've just been so busy charging ahead. And like I said, moving that some of these things that might, so work and more work necessarily is a good solution to a lot of conflicts. It just smooths out some of the bumps in the road and don't get too hung up on any one little thing, especially if it doesn't align with your goals or even. So really, I think, like I said, like Josh said, time is a good one. We don't find a lot that we're really in disagreement upon. And I'm sure there's been times where one of us or both of us kind of acquiesced and just, it's a compromise, but I can't think of any individual thing. So it's kind of, they're minor in that sense. But I do think you got to be amicable all the way along. If you're going to my way or the highway, well, you'll probably be on the highway more than you think.
That's so good.
I would say, John, in some of the flips that we do, it's really hard to have 2 cooks in the kitchen trying to figure out all the finishes and what we should do and, rearranging this and that. And one thing that we've done really well is whoever finds that property first and locates it, and if we end up buying it, that person is the one who's kind of like spearheading the deal and not necessarily coming up with all the ideas, because we do meet and look through every property together and we all come up with different ideas, but maybe it's more of like the final decision maker on that. And I think that's worked really well. Then we just kind of know going into it what the expectations are and, not getting too wrapped up in the emotion of like, ooh, I really want to do this. I want to put in white backsplash as opposed to black or whatever. Like at the end of the day, the house is going to turn out and look amazing. And there could be 10 different people and every single person has a different idea on how it should be completed. But that's one of the ways that we've solved, that potential issue.
Well, and it sounds like you guys are starting from a basis. Patrick Lencioni has this great book called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, right? It's a classic leadership book, and it talks about one of the dysfunctions is the bottom function in order to have functional relationships is trust. You have to build trust. Everything else just doesn't work if you don't have trust. And on up those 5 dysfunctions, one of them is the ability to have, or the flip side of that of having a functional team is the ability to have healthy conflict, but you can't have that without trust. And it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is both through time, and you've also said through just like maybe being willing to yield over time, like your relationship. The relationship for the two of you seems to trump any decision that you feel passionate about. And if you can't agree on something, you just give it some time. And generally, and then Morgan, what you said, sales and profit, my paraphrase of what you said, sales and profit solve all problems. So, being busy, having sales and profit, that's really good. If you're moving in the right direction, then that makes a lot of sense. Josh, you talked about your investment business, which is a great transition. I wanted to ask you about, you all are doing quite a few investment deals you've done together over the years, 70 or so. Is that about right? That homes that you bought and renovated. Do you generally, a few questions about that. Do you generally flip or hold them? How do you source them? And do your agents participate in the deals at all? And if so, what does that look like?
We would love to hold them, but it's not necessarily plausible just because we have other investors that are involved and they want them turned quickly and they want to get a return back. So holding would be nice. And if we could have held all 70 of those properties over the years, we probably wouldn't even be talking right now. We'd probably be on a beach somewhere. But yes, we do turn them. And, that's worked out really well and has led to a lot of income. Not necessarily the smartest thing to do, but right now our team members are not involved in the flipping. We do share our knowledge with them, and we'll even do team meetings at our renovated properties and walk them through, hey, what we're doing, why we're doing it, working with investors, what that looks like, what investors expect, and that sort of thing, just so that, because we just know as real estate agents, we're going to come across investors every single year. That's just a natural part of the business. And we want them to be educated and know what to say and how to say it to every single person that they come across that's looking to either, buy an investment property to rent it or buy it to flip it. So it's been a very lucrative business. We've had a lot of fun doing it. I think that our plan is to do more and more every single year that goes on, but it's just steadily grown over the years.
Yeah, like I said, Josh said, we started out and some of the first few properties were smaller, like a lot of kind of investors. And then with each successive one, we're looking. But for sourcing the deals, we honestly source a lot of them, especially nowadays occasionally we've bought a few from wholesalers and that, but the deal's really got to be right. It's a little tougher. Sometimes you can just find that house that needs a lot of work and the motivated seller. But in most cases, they are coming from the MLS. You've got to be on it and quick and know your areas, know what you're looking for and what you can improve upon. A decent portion of our value, comes out of that value add by making improvements to the property, less so from, we are buying it right, but it's not buying it so right that the seller, walks away without two legs and crawls off, kind of thing. So they're happy in the sale. So then you're making those improvements because freshly remodeled homes in centralized areas where you cannot buy any new product. Here in Scottsdale, a lot of it's pretty built out, especially those centrally located areas. And so there's a demand for new in these older, more established areas. And that's where the upside really is delivering an amazing product. The team members, while they're not directly involved, like financially, they benefit quite a bit holding these properties as open houses. They attract a ton of leads and people coming through, coming soon off market deals, that they get to pitch at other open houses. Hey, I've got this great house coming up. You're looking for something like this. Well, maybe we can walk through this home under construction. So they kind of benefit in other ways. We're still working on how we can get more team members involved. I mean, some of our longstanding team members have done some of their own flips and been successful with it, and we've helped coach them through those. So it's an awesome process. It's not necessarily an easy one, and it might be a little daunting for someone to take on. So I would definitely start small, not try to bite off, the biggest house you can find on your first flip.
That's good stuff. So it sounds like you partner with investors on some, if not all, of the deals that you're doing. Tell me about your selection process for investors, because we have we have investors on a spectrum, one end of the spectrum to the other here. This is reversed, so my fingers are going in the wrong direction, but they're either like they want to be super involved and they want to be in the decision-making process with you, or the other side of the spectrum, which maybe would be ideal if they were all there, is the kind of the silent investor who says, hey, Morgan and Josh, I trust you. How much money do you need? And just tell me when I get my return, and here you go, call me when my check's ready. How do you select investors, and where on that spectrum, what are your qualifying criteria for the investors that you'll partner with?
Deep pockets.
Yeah, you don't want their last, if they're going to give you $100,000, you want their last $100,000, right?
Correct. Deep pockets, and we want them to be silent. In fact, I don't think we'd even consider an investor that wanted to be intimately involved in the decision-making process, just because, like I said before, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and we know what we want to do, why we want to do it, how we want to do it. And the last thing we need is somebody who maybe has never flipped a property before, but they have a lot of money, and then they want to sit there and start making the decisions. It just wouldn't work very well, probably cause a lot of friction and headaches. So we love the super silent investors that have plenty to invest.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be somewhat dictated by your level of experience in there too, because that is in some ways the ideal situation. But part of it too, I mean, we're now at the stage where we have professional designers who are coming in and doing the heavy lifting on the design. We're getting in and selecting and maybe nudging them here, or, hey, I got 3 bathrooms. This bathroom could go 3 different ways. Which one do you like best? We kind of like, and also we're heavily involved in the beginning of the grand vision of the property, because a lot of these were built in the 90s or 80s. And the floor plans were, I don't know what they did back then, but they did some crazy things with floor plans. So we have to get in there and straighten it out and move walls and open it up, do all these things that you're wanting to improve the house to make it feel like a 2024 just built home. Also, good contractors, like a good general in there too, that can oversee and get things done. And so when you've already got a well-oiled machine, you're definitely just more looking for that silent partner. Now, in the beginning, you'd want some experience. And so whether it was finding someone who'd done it before where you can learn and mentor and follow alongside, or start a little smaller, just understand that those are some of the things that are going to come up. And so being able to hash out as much up front and find a shared vision, find like example properties. If you are working with an investor who wants to be more involved, hey, let's go tour a few have done, and let's determine what people did right and what people did wrong. Josh and I we benefit, so does every other agent out there, because you've seen hundreds and thousands of homes. That's right. You've heard buyers tell you what they like and don't like with hundreds and thousands of homes. So you have a very intimate knowledge of what is going to sell in the market and what's going to be pain points. And so when you can use that and then use it to deliver an outstanding product within budget, because every investor knows there's some things you'd want to do, but it's like, do we have to do this to get this house to sell? Well, you know that better than most anybody. Yep. So.
Yeah, once you make an investor money the first time, the other investors come to you on your terms. Logistically, tell me about, are you always investing one property at a time, or are you pooling funds with an investor? Are they an actual partner in the LLC that owns the property, or are you doing it as debt or as equity? Just kind of getting in the weeds a little bit on when you do a property, are you asking that investor to invest in a single property, or are you giving him, are you doing it more like a fund where you're returning a certain interest rate and you use that money however you want for the investment business?
Right now, it's a single investor per property. At some point in time in the future, we'd love to start a fund to where we could pool. I mean, we have clients and friends that have said, hey, we want to get into that and we want to be part of what you guys are doing. And we haven't quite set that up yet. At some point in time, we will. But right now, it's very easy just to limit it to, one investor per property.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's a lot of risk taking on someone's money and promising to pay them beyond the deal, just a fixed interest rate, and being responsible for other people's money. So that makes a lot of sense to take it in that progression. All right. So next topic, let's talk about coaches, mentors, and brokers. So have you guys had both in the investing side and the brokerage and the sales side, have you had coaches and mentors along the way? And how does your brokerage fit into that?
Well, initially, we didn't really have many coaches or mentors. I know at our first brokerage that we were with, there were some great guys that had moved from Keller Williams over to Long Realty, and they did a lot of mentoring and whatnot. So that was kind of helpful getting into the business. But then we soon after moved over to Realty One, spent 17 years at Realty One Group. Didn't necessarily have a coach or mentor through Realty One, but we did align with Metrics Coaching, which Ben Kenny and Brian Gubernick, they run Metrics, and pretty amazing coaching platform that we've been part of for the last 6+ years now. And they don't just coach around being a better real estate agent. They actually coach about, how do we grow your wealth? What are things that we can get in or be knowledgeable around that will help grow everyone's wealth in this room? It's kind of a different type of mastermind than we've ever been part of. Obviously, just your normal trainings and coaching through different things that maybe title companies offer and whatnot and lenders offer over the years. But this has been the one that we've been part of the longest. And now we're over at Real Broker. And over at Real, they have an entire platform of training on their back end, which is pretty amazing. Even yesterday, the president of Real got on and did a 4-hour training on the whole buyer consultation. I mean, this training could have gone over 2 days, and he crammed it into 4 hours worth of content, which was pretty darn amazing. But that just shows the dedication of the leadership over there at Real and what they want to be. They want to be able to coach every agent up, not just kind of focus on how do we grow the brokerage.
Yeah, it's been a great transition to Real. So the coaching group that we this is 2018 or 17, I think. We started more or less interviewing different coaching platforms, deciding that really to take our business to the next level, we should kind of find that. And we ended up kind of organically, but in a way, we found our way to Metrics Mastermind, which is they've organized it. It's 4 team leaders from all across the country. People fly in to meet 2-day events, but that was really paramount. That was huge because we were then able to network and mastermind with other agents from across the country who run teams. So that was really big. But like I said, the leadership there really is talking about using real estate and your team to help you build wealth, but also there's tons of leadership material within there that definitely 100% has helped Josh and I both become far better leaders than we were going in. And with the knowledge we had from the books we were reading as part of that, the discussions we had and everything else, flipping back to making the move, like Josh said, we'd been with our former brokerage for 17 years and we were there. It was easy. We'd been there quite some time. It was definitely a big move for us to move not only ourselves, but, our entire team from that brokerage to Real. But Real, we just felt and still do feel and offers so much more for the agents. It's very much an inclusive platform. You feel all inclusive of the brokerage. And like I said, the leadership team is intimately involved. A lot of places it's kind of like, well, they're over there and I never see or hear from them. Here with Real, you have Sharon, who's getting out and speaking right away. I mean, it feels like he's down the hall in your brokerage office. And here's a very successful individual that could be doing a lot of other things with his time. And you just sense the care that he has, and not only him, but like the entire team. And then the opportunity to get on their platform and see these high level from top producers across the country as they're diving deep into their systems and practices right there alone. I think so much of that material is like, you'd consider like a Tom Ferry-esque material that you're able to get for free on the platform, which is just huge. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so good. The coaches you mentioned, these are not just your run-of-the-mill coaches. Ben Kenny and Brian Gubernick are 2 of the top. Ben runs the largest real estate team in the U.S., and Brian is kind of his right hand in guy who specializes in investing. I mean, the amount of knowledge that you pull that you must be able to pull out of a meeting with them. and let alone 6 years of hanging out with them. That's had to have a positive impact on your business. The real platform to have access to team leaders and just the platform to support your team. That sounds amazing, guys. Sounds amazing. All right. So as we wrap up, what we like to do is we love to talk about impact and legacy. And I'd love to ask you guys about, what are you most proud of that your team is doing to make an impact in your community? And what are you most proud of that you're doing to make an impact on your team as leaders, to make an impact to help them build legacy? So yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Well, as a team, we do charity events together. So for example, just about a month ago, we did this charity event called Agents Benefiting Children. It's an event to where we're fundraising for children's charities here locally in Arizona. The money actually goes to over 50 children's local charities. So basically for a few months to like 2 to 3 months before the event, everyone is fundraising for the event. And then the day of the event takes place at the San Francisco Giants Stadium in Old Town Scottsdale. And we compete against other residential and commercial real estate agents. They're teams of 8 where we go head to head on different competitions like cornhole, like bocce ball. They had even like a pickleball game that we were doing this year. But, for us, it's pretty important that we are involved in various organizations and charities throughout the year. And then as far as our legacy, let me think about that for a minute. Maybe Morgan, you might want to hop in.
So I would say, the cool thing about real estate, being in real estate, what people maybe don't give it enough credit for is you are so intimately involved in the community, big and small, and you do have a lot of opportunity to impact other people's lives, and you're sharing time with them as they are going through some of those transitional moments in their lives. And honestly, so we talk a lot with our team, obviously, about being good humans, caring for individuals, understand that it is all about your clients and the individuals, and it's not just about the deal, and really leading with the heart and finding ways to understand their needs and getting them through it. So I think that's impactful in that sense, as you're working more for the client and really honestly putting their needs first. It sounds cliche, but you literally are. And so we preach that left and right on our team as far as, getting out there and helping that individual, and through their success, you will be successful. But you really have to have that mindset going in and understand that whether it's leads you're calling on the phone or people you met, these are people too who are just looking for someone like you who can help them solve a problem. So I think that kind of attitude permeates and has a way to increase your just good sky and blue will. Or
Man,
will and blue sky.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. I think being able to share everything that we've learned over the last 20 years with our team and help them get where they want to go faster, and making them better agents, better people, doing things the right way, making them just taking their, I feel like real estate agents just have a really kind of bad reputation, among other industries. So being able to take them to that next level where they're a seasoned professional, not only helping them, their clients, but also the community. And I would say, as far as like a legacy, continuing to share that knowledge, maybe even through like YouTube videos and social media, and being able, we can't just coach our team, but if we can share our knowledge with everyone across the nation, that'd be pretty amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I really love what you guys said about helping your agents be better humans and realize that their clients are human, and to treat them that way with care and respect. We often talk about how we get to sit at these people's kitchen tables in the middle of their transitions, as you were saying, Morgan. And sometimes those transitions are very painful, and there's a reason they're moving, and it's not a good reason that they're buying or selling. Sometimes it is, and that's great. We can celebrate those joys with them. But we often talk about how when they're not going to their counselor or their pastor, they're going to us to help solve their problem, and treating them as humans. Definitely. I love how you guys are making an impact that way. And agents, benefiting children. What a great event. So very cool. Would love to dig into that more with you some other time. We're about out of time for today, though. So Josh and Morgan, just want to thank you so much for joining us on the show. Hey, where can folks catch up with you if they want to connect with you after the show?
They can email us at mojo@mojoscottsdale.com. They can call us at 480-356-5657. We're an open book. We'll share anything. But if they want to follow us on Instagram, Mojo Scottsdale, or on YouTube, same thing. I think it's the @Mojo Scottsdale symbol. But they can follow us that way. They can subscribe. We're, like I said, we're an open book. We're happy to share. People can contact us anytime for anything.
Love it. Love it. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thanks. We're just super grateful for your time investment. Excited to see what the Mojo team has got going in the future. Thanks for joining us today. And that's a wrap on another episode of the Mega Team Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and, of course, to our sponsor, megateammentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's megateammentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.